I'm sure you've seen it pass by at least once or twice by now. Lots of people are either tired or just flat out hating gaming practices nowadays. It's called modern gaming. Some claim that this feeling is due to lack of other hobbies or some other psychological reason like nostalgia. While I do think that this is part of the issue at hand here, it doesn't leave excuses for a lot of issues I will be talking about in this video today. Quick little disclaimer before the actual video starts off. This will be kind of my opinion / a rant on, modern gaming as it's called. I'm very passionate about gaming and I've been really hating what's been going on these last couple of years. So I decided to make like a big video. It's a lot different from what I usually upload, but I hope nonetheless that you enjoy it. It's going to be a bit more all over the place. I did write a script to kind of get some stuff into it. Anyhow, I'll not delay this any further. Hello fellow virgins, this is iSuperVirgin here, and welcome to why I hate modern gaming. Before I actually get into talking about gaming itself and games and shady business practices, as most people talk about this, I would like to further delve into the community first. A lot of beautiful things come out of this community: cosplay, mods, fan-made games, and there's so many other things that I can't even say out of the top of my head right now. But in every community you have both good and bad things. But in gaming, there's really specific bad ones that I kind of need to address right now. The first issue that we have here in our gaming community is definitely hostility, especially towards developers nowadays. Let's say you're a developer for a big studio, big AAA game, and you're developing the game and you end up telling the publisher or the marketing team hey, we can't release this on time or it's not going to be finished. Let's move this date to maybe in half a year. And before you know it, you think, right, people are gonna like this, right? Okay, they might not be that happy, but the game's gonna be better. We have more time to work on it, so that means less crunching for us. And you think everyone's getting a positive end out of this, just less time. That's the only bad thing about this. And then you open Twitter or you open your mail or something like it, and you're getting literal death threats because for some reason, when there's a whole studio of people, you specifically are the issue. Now, I don't think that I need to explain why death threats are actually fucking insane. And I think the latest I can think of are the death threats that CD Projekt Red had to get when they were making Cyberpunk 2077, saying, "This is one of the mildest messages some of us got. There were far, far worse. Every single one is being reported. We will not let it go through. Do not treat it lightly. Do not ignore it. It is serious. That's it. I'm off TT for a couple of days. Take care." And the tweet itself, the messages this person got, Andrzej Zawatsky, okay, he got a message saying, "I know where you live, bro. Release the game or you're finished. Release Cyberpunk or you and your family will be persecuted. I will burn you alive if you don't release the game." What the actual fuck? What? Really? You're gonna kill the guy that's making the game? It's just, then there's another problem. I've yet to experience this myself, but it's definitely something out there. Sexism. This has been going on longer than just the past couple of days, and well, it is more than just in the gaming community. I do think about half of the community is female, and we're not talking just Animal Crossing or Candy Crush or things like it. We're talking online gaming here. And I think I can count on one hand the amount of times I have knowingly interacted with a girl in a game. There's this article made on the August 20th, 2019 that says 59% of women in gaming hide their gender while playing video games. Of those women, many choose to use a non-gendered identity or even play as men. For the study, Reach 3 spoke with 900 women in the US, China, and Germany about the issues they face. Biggest factor towards hiding their gender is that 77% have experienced gender-specific discrimination when gaming. That includes insults, inappropriate sexual messages, patronizing and dismissive comments, and mansplaining. According to the study, this type of explicitly sexist behavior is normalized in online spaces with little to no repercussion. And then this is, I think, the biggest part of this entire article that we should look at. What's more tied stereotypes of women only playing relaxing games like Animal Crossing Crossing, and The Sims are false. Of those in the study, 88% of women play competitive games such as shooters, battle royales, and MOBAs, 75% play action/survival games, and 66% play shooters. In the article, it also says that this is like, there's no repercussion. And I do think that this isn't just only for sexism, I think it's just for harassment in general. I do believe in being able to out your opinion, but in that same way, I do think, right, I get mad at people in video games when they are not playing good, right? If someone in my team on CSGO is playing bad, I call them names. I call him idiot. I call him a whole lot different. I think you've seen, if you've seen other videos of mine, you know that I tend to call people out. But just genuinely because you're female or because you are black or something like it, you shouldn't just instantly get discrimination thrown towards you before even someone knows how you play or what you do or has any reason to be mad at you or throw these slurs at you. Gaming is currently the biggest medium out there, and as I already said, 49% I think is the exact amount of gamers are female. I think when you look at that statistic, there is of course also, then you have to include mobile gaming. Even then, there's still like a big amount of gamers that are female, and they have to act like they're male or don't even choose like a gender or a sex. I don't think gatekeeping is really the way we want to kind of do things. And that is just in general. Again, way too many people try to gatekeep, especially Sony fanboys who just want to gatekeep all their favorite games and don't let PC or Xbox have them, because imagine other people enjoying themselves. Then another giant issue, and I swear to God, I hate this so much. I could make a whole video about this. It's competitiveness in gaming. It is insane how competitive this scene has gotten. I mean, let's look at meta. Let's look at a game like Call of Duty or Hearthstone, where you have to take the best items. You have to take the best stuff. Call of Duty is best loadouts, right? You need to take this gun with this attachments. And there's like a whole selection of these things. There's like 30 guns, 30 attachments, and you can put 5 attachments maximum on your gun. So why the hell do people only play with these 2 guns? Well, because they kill the fastest, so therefore everyone has to use those guns. Because if you don't use them, everyone else will, and you'll just have a handicap on them. Same goes for something like Hearthstone, where you build decks. If your deck of cards, your deck out there isn't as good as those that they put online, and there are the best 3 or 4 decks. If you don't use those decks, you're not gonna get far. You're not gonna get those rewards. You're not gonna get that gratification from winning. Gratification has become so bad. Cheating is now a norm. I watched a video by Basically Homeless not too long ago, where he explained how in shooters he did research that claimed that 1/3 of people playing a shooter are cheating. They have some sort of assistance. They're not plainly using aim hacks or wall hacks to flick to your head through a wall, but they have some sort of assistance like a wall hack, an ESP, right? Or even just controller support on a mouse, right? Where you just have to aim on somebody and the tracking does it, it tracks out of itself. This is insane. I do not understand cheating in the slightest. There are games like Tarkov where there is monetary gain to be gotten from this, and there I can understand cheating a bit more, but in other games I just do not get it. What do you get out of cheating in a game? Like, you ruin everyone's fun. I mean, that's just plain what happens. And then next to that, every single thing you claim that you can do, everything of it is false. If you stream on Twitch and you do that and you try to gain money out of that, or you make YouTube videos and you try to get money out of that, that is understandable to some extent. But then I don't think that 1/3 of shooter gamers are Twitch streamers and YouTubers. So for the majority of these people, they just cheat to cheat and they get nothing out of it, right? We're talking games like CSGO or Rust or anything like it, where no matter what you do, no matter if you win or lose, there is no gratification, right? There is nothing you get out of that except, feeling good that you can win. But if you cheat, where's that feeling? That goes away. Or am I stupid? Is cheating, does that automatically make you feel like a fucking god among peasants? Is that what that feeling is about? I hate it, okay? I'm tired of it. It's tiring to constantly lose against people who claim to be better but end up just cheating, and then, Where's the fun in that? Now let's talk reviews. There are 3 types of reviews I can talk about. We have user reviews, critic reviews, and then we have YouTuber reviews. Now, all 3 of these they have one problem in common. It's that they're fucking unreliable. None of them really give you an honest opinion. Like, they don't give you a good look on whether or not you want to buy this game. And for a lot of these games, these are very heavy price tags. 60, or now, because why the fuck not, $70 fucking at this point, you need to pay for a game. Since I just talked about the community, I would like to start with user reviews. And the short way of saying this is, people are dumb. People are just dumb. That's literally how I can put it in a small little box that says dumb people. On places like Steam, you have someone who has 0.1 hours in the game, and they leave a negative review saying that they cannot, they have issues with the game. I do not understand why people with less than a certain amount of hours are allowed to even leave a review on a game. And in Steam system and in many other systems, it doesn't even make a difference, right? If you play 100 of hours and you leave a bad review, or a negative or a positive review where you say, oh, I really like it because of this, or I really hate it because of that, that is the exact same thing as someone who played 0.1 hours and says, bad game. That's it. They're equal in the system. And I think that is a bit weird and, shouldn't really be a thing. I see this often when there's like, the game releases, it's release day, and there's technical issues. And the amount of times you see people dropping negative reviews, and you all of a sudden see this game getting review bombed, right? It is going down. It is going to mixed or even mostly negative if it's really bad. What do they say? They just say, oh, I have the 4090 Ti and so my PCs should run this. My brother in Christ, we do not even know your specs. A lot of these people probably don't even have the right specifications. They just ram a graphics card in that PC, expecting it to just randomly work with the latest games. That's not how this works, okay? That's not how this works. I think if you just make sure that people need to have a certain amount of hours in a game before they can leave a review, and I know that this is mostly for Steam that I'm talking about because you can't really do it for Metacritic or things like that, but I do feel like if Steam would change its system so that you would have, you need 2 hours, you need to play less than 2 hours before you refund the game. So I do feel like, what if after playing for 2 hours, you're allowed to leave a review? Maybe that's something, right? Because let's be honest here, Steam already shows how many hours you've played and whether or not you've refunded it. And if you refund it, you are also allowed to leave a review, but at least people can see, oh, this guy refunded it. I've also seen negative reviews of people saying, oh, I really don't like this game, and they have 50 hours in the game on the review, and then they have like 170 at that point. So they left a review, and then they played another 120 hours. It's still a bad game, but you still played it more than you did when you put the review. What the fuck changed? Did you, nobody's incentivized to remove that negative review either. So I do think some games would come out higher and or are review bombed in the beginning, and people are going to be put off and be like, oh, I'm not going to be playing that game. I don't want to play that game. Another solution we might have for this is fixing people's stupidity, but yeah, that's never going to change. Let's look at the state of the world. We're fucked. Then there's critic reviews. Oh, so you have things like IGN or GameSpot, and I think anyone with a decent fucking mind, anyone with half a brain cell knows that these reviews are nothing, especially IGN. Don't even get me started on those. I mean, let's just remember that Cyberpunk, on its release, got a 9 out of 10 from IGN. A 9 out of 10. And then there's, of course, YouTuber reviews, and basically the same problem. There's a YouTuber by the name of Ranton who you should definitely check out, who made a video about this where he went a bit more in depth on why YouTuber reviews are bad. Basically, for a lot of these YouTuber reviews, what happens is a company hits them up, says, hey, would you like to make a video about my game? And most of the times they either get a free copy of the game or they get some monetary value out of making that video on top of the video show itself. And the problem that comes with that is that a lot of times these people tend to not really put in their reviews like, hey, this is a sponsored review, you know, these people paid me or gave me a free copy. And even then, you're on their side, right? They gave you something. You're gonna, even if it's just small little things, you're gonna back down a bit from giving a harsh review, because what if in the future they don't want to give anything anymore, right? You leave a good review, people are gonna be like, and then that company that hit you up is gonna be like, hey, thank you for the review. Next game they make, they come back to you, because that's logical. It's good marketing, but it's not honest. And that's the issue at hand here. It is not honest. So what do YouTubers have to do? In the beginning of the video, have to just straight up be like, hey man, this is definitely a biased opinion. But what is the problem that comes with that? Who wants a biased opinion? I want to know in a review whether I want to buy the game or not. I don't want to know like what you think of it because you got it for free. I don't think that matters at all. Therefore, I think many review types and reviews there are just really bad. I think a few YouTubers I can name, like Ranton, who gives wonderful reviews, and you also have the Angry Joe Show. They leave proper reviews. Some can be long, but sometimes that's what you need for a game, and you can know that these are proper reviews, at least at the time that I post this video. These are very proper reviews. All right, now for the headliner of this video. We're already pretty deep in, but yeah, the state of games nowadays. There's a lot. The most prominent issue modern gaming has right now is greed. Everything needs to be money. Money, 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 money. That's all that big AAA games really care about nowadays. Let's look at, for instance, Overwatch 2. Where they claim that because they wanted to make a single player version of Overwatch, they needed to make a second game. Eventually, anyone who's followed the story knows that all that really the biggest change was between Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 was the way its monetization system worked. And all of a sudden, instead of being able to buy 20 loot boxes with a good chance of getting a legendary or two out of that, you only had one legendary skin for the same price, 20 bucks. What are we doing here? Gaming is, like I said, also the fastest growing medium there is out there. Therefore, it's also becoming very profitable. There's getting more and more and more money out of it. And I find it weird that a lot of these, like, I've heard developers say that they find it weird that games haven't, like, cost more over the years than they already have. You know, for a long time I think it was 50 and then it switched up to 60, and I think for the majority of my life I've known it that a AAA game costs 60 bucks or 60 euros here, and now they're switching it up finally to 70, and I think when you say, oh, switching it up to 70, you know, because it costs a lot more to make games, is a very double thing to say, because 70 bucks, sure, but like back in the day you maybe got not even 1 million people that bought your game for 60. Now more than 1 million is a very high likely thing in a AAA gaming industry, and then all that 1 million paying 10 bucks more, you know, that's 10 million extra for a company. That is a lot of fucking money. I think the best way to put this in perspective, just so that everyone realizes this, how much money this is, I have looked up how much money does a average person spend in their lifetime. 2 million. So that's 5 lifetimes extra for 1 million copies sold of a AAA game. And we both know that there's more than 1 million copies for a lot of these games that get sold. Just to put this in perspective even more, let's look at a game that wasn't even made like fairly recently. Let's look at Borderlands 2, for instance. The developers, like the actual development team, got bonuses big enough to buy new cars and new houses and stuff like it. And I don't mean to shit on them and say like, hey, you shouldn't earn that money, but it's definitely like a bad thing to go, hey, you people, everyone should pay 10 bucks more for our game, which is already hella expensive, because, you know, because we want it, you know, because we want more money, because costs are more for a multi-billion company that is probably gaining more money than it ever has. I think Rockstar at this point has gained $14 billion per fiscal year, or at least this fiscal year, and they're expecting more next year. So, I mean, yeah, sure. A company that hasn't released a game in 5 years and only released a proper game 5 years before that, still pushing a game 10 years later, but they're one of the record-holding companies when it comes to profit. That is fucking insane. I think it's fairly easy to say that with great profit comes great greed. And I believe that this isn't going to change. Companies are going to want to grow. And more scummy things are done each and every single time. FIFA gets a new release every year. So does every sports game, actually. They all get new releases, because why would you make one game where a player pays $60 and you keep, updating the game when you can just release it every year, ask $60 every year from millions of people, and have millions of dollars coming right in every year, and just constant profit. I don't know who these gaming whales are, but if you're watching one of these videos and you've spent like so much money in a singular game that isn't like WoW or something like it, where it's like existed for years on end, fuck you. You're the reason why we don't have good games anymore, why games are left unfinished, and then we get these apologies that are half-assed because companies know they'll be forgiven. Let's look at CD Projekt Red. Like I just talked about Cyberpunk. They released the biggest piece of dog shit less than 3 years ago, and nobody's talking about it anymore. Nobody gives a shit. And yes, they are releasing an update, and they wish they'd have delivered the game in the state they were gonna deliver this update. But like now all of a sudden we have to just accept that and be like, oh, thank you for fucking us in the ass 3 years ago, but now at least you're wiping it off. What the fuck is this? Okay. Honestly, I don't think the only company I think deserving praise for actually under-delivering and then making up to it is the company behind No Man's Sky, who has now already 7 years after release still given free updates without asking, a single extra dime. 7 full years. That is insane amounts of time and effort put into saying sorry. And I think that is a beautiful thing. We shouldn't necessarily say, fully forgiven, but I think they've said enough sorry. But these big AAA games, they do not care. Again, let's look at Rockstar. They released the GTA trilogy in a state they knew was shit. They destroyed the originals, destroyed any mods for those originals, because they knew that those things were going to be better and people were going to want to play that instead of paying $50 or $60 for just a re-release of a mod. Basically. Same goes for now the Red Dead Redemption re-release on PS4 and what was it, Nintendo Switch? 13 years after the game released, you're gonna re-release it on another platform and then ask me $50? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure. That sounds like a fucking great deal, honestly. Then a problem that I've seen happening a lot lately is like delays. The sheer amount of games that get this cinematic trailer or some sort of gameplay trailer, or I do not even care what kind of trailer it is, and then they either get delayed or they're just, not a single peep from them for years on end. The Elder Scrolls 6 was announced 5 years ago. It still has not gotten into proper development because, Starfield, logical. But this is one example of many where a game gets revealed and then it's just dead. For anyone who still cares, what happened to State of Decay 3? One trailer got released, which was a cinematic trailer of half a minute maybe, and since then there has been not a single drop of information on the game, and it's so annoying. Like a good example of how it should work was what Mortal Kombat 1 did, which was release that they were making a new Mortal Kombat a few months ago, and then saying, oh yeah, this game, the one we're making, it's coming out in less than half a year, right? Like you'll be able to play this very soon, right? And there's betas coming before that, if you want to test this. That works. That is fun. That is creating hype and actually delivering on time. People do not stay hyped for a game like Fable, where they release that they're making it only to deliver a new cinematic trailer 2 or 3 years later. Really? I'm really gonna care about this game? It's cinematic trailer after cinematic trailer. Hell, not a single trailer can be believable at this point. Anthem's trailer was completely falsified. The developers of the game themselves saw what they were supposed to make in that trailer because they hadn't even started yet. The same goes for Cyberpunk. That demo they showed, that 30-minute demo, that was made separately. Like, they made that wasn't going to work in the big game. They knew it wasn't going to work, but they put so much production and so much money into that one because they knew it would sell, they knew it would market, and then all they have to do, like I said before, is just give a quick little apology and it'll all be fine. All these delays are the same. They're just the same. They all have this little card that just says, we're very sorry, but we strive to make the best. Ends up being still shit. Like, any game that gets delayed most of the times ends up still being pretty shit, which is really weird in my opinion. But I can't blame the developers. They put time and effort, they crunch, they don't get paid enough, to be honest. It's very sad to see that these big AAA companies just delay after delay after delay, and they just have people working under them being like, hey, keep working, keep crunching, get it on that date, and if you don't, fuck you, stuff like that. Now with delays comes right back into what is also very prominent nowadays: unfinished products. Way too many times games get released are either bug-filled messes or do not have what they originally promised. Let's look at The Last of Us Part 1 remaster. Wow, that game was definitely, that wasn't a bug-filled mess that nobody could play. Let's look at Jedi Survivor, which was released on PC in such a bad state that you couldn't even play it in more than 10 FPS. Definitely a great thing, definitely positive. Wow, great work there. The bug-filled messes Ubisoft make, I could name a couple of few, but you get the point I'm trying to make here. Every single one of these big companies is just releasing bad game after bad game after bad game because they know they can hype the people up enough to let them play, let them buy, and get loads of money. Then they say sorry, get a patch or two out way too late. At that point, maybe only a small percentage of their team is still working on updating that game, while the new game's already, the sequel's already in the works. So that sequel, they can release right after they've fully patched the game. They can release like, hey, we're making a sequel. So, like this fun you're having right now, in the next one, you're going to have even more fun. And then it just ends up being a buggy mess all over again. Then we have a very sad one, and I don't think it's being talked about enough, which is following trends. Back in the day, trends were very creative. I'm thinking zombie games, right? They are very overdone. A lot of games are just zombie games. Other than a zombie game, a lot of the games that are out there with this genre tend to be very different from each other. Let's look at the difference between, for instance, Left 4 Dead and Dying Light. Those are completely different games, of course, also completely different times, but they are positive in a lot of different ways, right? One's a shooter, the other one's more acrobatic action adventure game, got a little story to it. Left 4 Dead's more arcadey, stuff like that. It's very, both games are great. Let's look at Dead Rising, for instance, also a story game, way more goofy. Dead Island, same thing. It's a lot like Dying Light, for its own reasons, but a bit more goofy and this and that. And I like that. That's cool, Okay, yeah, it's zombie, and you're always gonna have zombie games, but at least people were creative enough to make their own zombie game. Nowadays, what are trends? Oh, I don't know, maybe a battle royale. How every game needs to have a battle royale. I definitely want to play a battle royale of, I want to play a battle royale of Plants vs. fucking Zombies. Yeah, sure, that's what I want a battle royale of. I want to be able to fight against zombies in my yard as a bunch of plants. Yeah, I think that is probably the best one. There are so many battle royales releasing every year. They end up flopping because they're not as good as Fortnite or as Apex, and I think people should just stop making battle royales in general. Just keep the ones that are there. You know, they're there for a reason. The big ones stay there for a reason. It's why PUBG fell off as much as it did, because it's just not as fun as it used to be, and people realized, you know, there's better games out there. Battlefield, for some reason, needed a battle royale. Why? Because it was a trend. People get money out of it. Battle passes. It all makes sense when you look at, you know, Creed, what I talked about earlier. That is all. It's very much a painful thing to see how trends are just always the same. You know, there's less creativity, right? There is a difference between Apex and, for instance, the Battlefield Battle Royale. But at the end of the day, they're both first-person shooters with guns, with classes, I would say. You know, one has heroes, one has classes. But you get what I'm saying, right? There's these, like, it's too much of the same. These games aren't that different from each other, and I find that very sad to see. A lot of games nowadays are also very generic. Let's look at Ubisoft making Assassin's Creed the same game every single time, because instead of making a niche game, which Assassin's Creed originally was, instead of making a niche game that is really good for a few people, they make an okay game for a whole amount of people. Because if you make an okay game, chances are pretty big they're gonna pay that $60. Voila. That's really it, honestly. That's how you make money. That's how the gaming companies make money. And if you're stupid enough to fall for it, they're gonna keep making money. They release, and a year or two later, you're just gone. They're nothing. They're useless, and they have to keep re-releasing. Same goes for Far Cry. Look at Far Cry. The game is literally exactly the same from the third one to the one we're getting now. Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 6 are barely any difference, and it is annoying how much that happens and how many generic games are made that need to have this giant crowd of people that all play it, instead of just having a niche game that's really fun and really cool and has really creative ideas. Creativity has died in the AAA gaming industry. It has died. The only thing that I can say, the only AAA studios that I can happily say at least still have that are FromSoft, who made Elden Ring. Oh my god, thank you. And a bit more new in the news is Baldur's Gate 3 by Larian Studios. Both amazing games, but let's be honest here, not everyone's gonna like Elden Ring. Not everyone's gonna like Baldur's Gate. And you know what? That's completely fine, because those people can go enjoy other games. I love both those games very much. It sounds really weird when I say this, but back when I played games when I was younger, I used to get this special feeling when I discovered something new, right? When I had like a real like fun experience. Of course, again, there's a sort of nostalgia you get from, you know, playing these older games, but this feeling, it just didn't come back, right? As I played games, and it doesn't mean that I didn't play good games, but it was never there. That creativity of doing what I wanted and, you know, having that fun, it was gone. I started up Elden Ring for the first time, and I played it, and I kept playing it, and I felt that feeling come back, because finally, after years, I was playing a game that didn't feel like every game I had played in the last 5 years, which is insane to me. Creativity has died off, and what happens is creativity is left to go to the indie developers. And although there are many amazing indie games like Cult of the Lamb or Rimworld that are just niche games that are just amazing when it comes to creativity, they do not have the resources as a AAA studio, which is logical, the name says it. Only a handful of AAA companies, if you can even call it that, are actually making these creative games that are fun for a niche amount of people. Another thing real quick, which is more recent in the news, is I wanted to talk about Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is an absolute masterpiece. I was pretty sure Tears of the Kingdom was going to win Game of the Year this year, but Baldur's Gate has taken that spot most definitely. If it doesn't win, it's fucking rigged. I'm telling you, it's rigged. It's gotten in the news recently because people on Twitter made posts saying that this shouldn't be the new standards for RPG. And I'm here to tell you, it should be. Why shouldn't studios thrive, strive to make a game as good as Baldur's Gate 3, or at least try to, right? I don't expect any indie company to come out with a game like Baldur's Gate 3 with a giant game with hundreds of hours you can play in, with voice actors that are just mwah, and just a whole lot of choices and this and that. I don't expect that. Nobody expects that. We're not stupid. I mean, some people are, but we're not stupid. Baldur's Gate 3 is an anomaly, as it's been said. Why is it an anomaly? Because it's actually made by people who genuinely care about the product they deliver to the people they want to deliver it to. And that is the anomaly in the gaming industry, at least in the AAA gaming industry. Let me just discern that every single time. A lot of these developers that are crying about how it can't be the new standard just basically hide behind the shield of indie companies shouldn't have that. And as I already stated, no, indie companies aren't going to make games as big as Baldur's Gate 3, but AAA games should be. Why hasn't Rockstar delivered a proper big game in 5 years? Why are all the IPs that were fun back in the day just all dead? Why are there no more SWAT games? Why do you have to rely on indie games to make Ready or Not instead of just getting a SWAT game made by a AAA studio? It's so weird to me that this is like the new standard and that we should just all accept it, and that we should just pay $70 for every single AAA coming out. And there's a lot coming out in every year. We should just accept all of that and just be like, yeah, sure, thanks, buddy. No. We shouldn't accept this. We should change this. We should try to change this at least. If you are watching this, please, for the love of God, stop doing the things you're doing, especially these whales. Don't buy shark cards in GTA Online. What are you doing? We could have a way better GTA already 2 or 3 years ago if you hadn't just constantly bought new shit. Like the Diamond Casino heist in GTA 5, which is an online, was originally going to be a DLC for the single player game, but profit, money, oh Jesus Christ, come on, man. Really? We could have had so many greater things if you had just kept your wallet shut. And with that, I want to end the video. But first, a very, very important thing that I would like to ask of you is your opinion. What do you think? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm smart? Do you have something that I didn't talk about that you want me talking about? Like, just tell me what you think about this. Like, leave a comment. I really like reading through them. So leave a comment in the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. And if you want more content like this, or more meme content as you would see on my channel, please subscribe. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I also hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.